Resiliency in the fields is one thing, resiliency in the home is another. And to have to maintain both of those is part of the story we're going to hear next from Flower Work Farm in Florence. Suna, Turgay.
During my college years, I fell in love with a summer camp. An overnight camp in Vermont, down a long dirt road, up the side of a mountain to the middle of nowhere, where I met my best friends, who maybe they're here now, maybe they're not. And in the summer, that forest is filled with forts and songs and epic dance parties. So when I have the opportunity to direct this camp, many years later, I jump at that opportunity. This time with a baby under my arms, I go down that dirt road, and it turns out being a camp counselor is even more fun than being a director is even more fun than being a counselor. This time I get to pick the staff and decide where the money in the budget goes and write grants for things that I personally care about, like connecting with local farmers. And I get to work with cooks who are as excited about fresh eggs and heirloom tomatoes and real maple syrup on pancakes. And the thing I think is most important about camp is that the reason it exists, its purpose, is to create community and to spark joy and curiosity and connect with people and connect with nature and create a place where we can all feel like we're in a safe place where we can challenge and grow. 4 years later, when I had my younger child, we found ourselves in the intensive care unit and learned that she has a rare genetic disorder and a whole constellation of medical issues and developmental delays and communication disorder and autism. And so I quit my job, which is common for people who have kids with complex needs, regardless of their financial situation, because they require specialized care. She had doctor's appointments and therapy appointments and surgeries and recoveries and prolonged illnesses. And despite this, she's really fun and she's really funny and she doesn't want to miss a thing. And she's lucky enough to end up at this great elementary school that embraces her and includes her in everything, which makes the transition to middle school really hard, where she's separated from her only friends, segregated into a special room, and it's made clear to her that she is different and that she will no longer be allowed to be part of all the things. And this makes her angry, it makes her anxious, and it makes her isolated. And school becomes not a safe place for her anymore, so she stops going. And this makes me angry and isolated. And then COVID happens. And then I'm relieved because now nobody goes to school, and now everybody is angry and anxious and isolated. And, it's okay for us because we have a small homestead, and the chickens need tending, and the seed needs sowing, and the beds need prepping, and she's by my side, never leaves my side, and luckily she's into it, and I'm surprised by how invested she is. She really likes a task, something that has a beginning and an end that can be crossed off a list. So we're making lists, we're crossing things off lists, and the garden looks more beautiful than it's ever looked. And the weeks and the months and the years go by, and suddenly it's time to go back to school, and now it's high school time. And it's a big, unfamiliar school with big people, unfamiliar faces, they're all masked, and it's not going very well. On most days, I'm picking her up at 11 o'clock. And on this particular day, the school's calling me to come pick her up because for the third time that day, she has ripped up the worksheet they've put in front of her and made it into a little ball and thrown it at the kid sitting next to her. And she has like a little behavior clipboard, and now she's received 3 marks for disruptive and 3 marks for aggressive behavior, and they're escorting her off the school, and I'm picking her up, and She's mad and she just wants to go home and get in bed and sleep until dinner time. And I'm feeling pretty bad myself because I've dedicated my life to her health and well-being. And the educators are now starting to point their fingers at me and questioning my competence as a parent. And so we think it's time to look for a different option. And there are none. But then I remember a friend of mine talking about this place where he still grows mushrooms called Prospect Meadow Farm. And I contact the director, and he says, well, we've never had any children work here before. But he says, bring her, let's see how it goes. So it's a farm that they have farm shares, they have animals, they have eggs, they have mushrooms, and it's all staffed by people with developmental disabilities. And so we show up, and on the first day, she's there for 5 minutes. On the second day, she's there for 10 minutes because the goats are so friendly and inviting. And by the end of the week, I get a message from the program director who's really excited that she's made it for 20 minutes, that she actually came into the building and she had a chance to read through the list of chores on the board. By the end of the summer, she's getting her own list, and with pride, she's crossing off all the things that she's done, and she's leaving the house happy, and she's coming home happy. And by the time it's Brussels sprout season, I get another message from the program director, and this time the message says that she was harvesting Brussels sprouts and she picked one off the stalk and she threw it at the person working next to her, which caused that person to laugh and pick up the Brussels sprout and throw it right back at her, which caused her to laugh, and that made the program director gave her a chance to hear the sound of her laughter. And, so she's texting me this because she thinks this is important for me to know, which totally gives me camp vibes. And since then, I can't help but wonder, what if I can create camp at Flower Work Farm? Thanks.